Welcome back to Math with Miss Swartz. Today we're going to look at scatter plots. Okay, so scatter plots go along with graphing because we're going to be looking, okay, at a situation where we can have a relationship between two pieces of information, and we're going to be able to graph them on a coordinate plane. Okay, so how can we construct and interpret a scatter plot is kind of what we're looking at today. Definition, so make sure you write this down. A scatter plot is a graph that shows the relationship between two data sets. The two sets of data are graphed as ordered pairs in a coordinate plane. Okay, so that's kind of what I was just talking about. So make sure you get this written down, and then we're going to look at a scatter plot and try to read it here. This should be pretty simple. Okay, so the scatter plot shows the amount of fat in grams and the number of calories in 12 restaurant sandwiches. So if we look at this, okay, we have fat in grams and calories over here. So meaning if they had 10 grams of fat, they would have about 420 calories, okay? If they had around 22 grams of fat, they would have a little over 500 calories. So it says how many calories are in the sandwich that contains 17 grams of fat. So if we come over here, 17 grams, we look at how many calories are there. Well, 400 is where we're at. So that's kind of how we read or work with a scatter plot. Next question says, how many grams of fat are in the sandwich that costs 600 calories? Okay, so if I go over up on calories at 600 and over to see how many grams of fat that is, that would be 30 grams. Okay, so the biggest thing we want to be able to take away from our scatter plots is the tendencies that we see with the information that we're given. So C asks, what tends to happen to the number of calories as the number of grams of fat increases? So as this goes up, okay, what happens to the calories? Well, in this case, as our fats go up or our grams go up, our calories also go up, which kind of makes sense. Okay. Last question. Okay. A sandwich has 650 calories. Based on the scatter plot in example 1, how many grams of fat would you expect the sandwich to have? So we can also do some guessing here. So if you notice on here, we don't have a number that looks like it hits right at 650. But as you can see, as we move up here, we're also moving up here. So we can take a good guess about where it would be. So maybe it's going to be like right in here as it's moving up there. Because right under 650, we're at about 32, 33. So maybe it moves up just a little bit. Maybe it's even closer and it's around 35 or 36. But we can estimate that. So alright, so that's reading a scatter plot. We also need to be able to create a scatter plot. So the information here says, write the order pairs from the table and plot them in a coordinate plane. The information we have here is the average price in dollars of sweatshirts sold at different stores and the number of sweatshirts sold at each store in 1 month. Okay, so here's our average price and here's the number sold. Okay, so I'm actually going to jump over here with a bigger graph and we're going to kind of jump back and forth. So the first grouping was 25 sold or price and 150 sold. 38 and 90. 32 and 142. 35 and 115. Okay. So this I've kind of written this as ordered pairs because this could be average price down here. And the thing you'll notice is scatter plot is generally only made up of the first quadrant. Okay, so these are pretty big numbers, so we're going to actually go by tens here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, we go, 60. Alright, and then over here we have significantly larger numbers, so we'll go by 50 there. 50, 100, 150, 200. Okay, so then we can graph these. So first one is going to be at 25, 150. So right between here and right there. 38.90. So not quite to 40, not quite to 100. 32, 142. So very close to there. 35, 115. So right in between and just a little over 100. Okay, so if you made smaller sections here, that could potentially look a little different. And then 50, 75. Okay, so if you look at this scatter plot, what is the tendency as the price goes up? Well, in this case, as our price goes up here, the number of sweatshirts sold actually goes down. Okay, which makes sense. If you have a higher price in your sweatshirts, you're probably not going to sell as many. So, the last thing we want to look at here with our scatter plots is we want to be able to describe the relationship. Okay, so we want to kind of talk about, is it a positive relationship, is it a negative relationship, are there no relationship happening there, and then identify any outliers, which it's been a while, but we've talked about outliers. They're far away from a lot of the data set. Are there any gaps or clusters? Okay, so if we look at this, we have television size and the price. So first of all, we want to say, is this a positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation? So as our television size goes up, what happens to the price? Well, it looks like the price also goes up. So this would be considered a positive correlation. Okay. Now you can see there's a couple pieces that are kind of just off on their own, like this piece right here, very much just off on its own. It's way bigger than most of these TVs, and its price is not that much higher than some of these. Okay, so our 70-inch TV that costs $2,300 is an outlier. Okay, we have some clusters here. We have a large gap kind of going from 30-inch TV to the 40-inch TV. So these are just all things that are good to see. If we look at B, okay, as a person's age goes up, we're trying to see if we have a correlation between that and the number of pets that they own. So as a person's age goes up, do we see a common theme between what happens with the number of pets owned? Well, in this case, no, it's kind of all over the place. Okay, so we can have younger people that own quite a bit of pets, older people that own quite a bit of pets. So in this case, there's no correlation. If we were to jump back to this graph that we made, this would be considered a negative correlation, because as our average price of sweatshirt goes up, our numbers sold goes down. Okay, in terms of outliers, I guess this one kind of sticks out as kind of far away. This one person at the age of 40 has 6 pets. That's just a little out there. You could maybe also consider this 30-year-old who has 0 pets a little bit of an outlier. There doesn't seem to be a lot of clusters, okay? And there doesn't seem to be a lot of gaps. which means that the information really is just all over the place. Like over here, you can see a lot of TVs, okay, in the price range from 20, or in the size, excuse me, 25 to 35, kind of have that price range right in there. All right, so your homework is actually going to be a couple parts. You're going to do activity 2 and 3 that are in your journal on page 186 and 187. So activity 2 looks like this, where you have to graph this information over here. Okay, so make sure you do activity 2 and answer the A, B, and C there. There might even be a D. And then activity 3, you're looking here to kind of talk about matching the data sets with the appropriate scatter plot. Okay, so you can look at that. And then finally you will look at page 188, which is only about 5 problems in your practice section of your journal. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.